Listen, thanks so much for allowing me to be out. There are a number of my colleagues here in the room. I won't mention them all, but as you get a chance, I'm sure prior to sitting down to eat and after I finish speaking and you get a chance to talk to them, you'll recognize how fortunate of a man I am to be elected Premier of the province of Nova Scotia with such a great group of Nova Scotians who are there to help us deliver a government. So to all of my colleagues, thank you so much for being here. It's been an interesting few months as I traveled the province, but I want to first of all begin by telling you we have lots of challenges. We have lots of things to be optimistic about. You'll talk about we will be the second, according to some of the banks, the growth in this province will be second highest in the country next year. But that's not what I think we should be most optimistic about. As I've traveled the province, I get a chance to work and interact with so many Nova Scotians who are doing so many great things across this province. Men and women who have figured out how to build their own businesses and build the very communities they live in through hard work, through innovation, through creativity, and quite frankly, believing in themselves and the community that they live in. I had the great fortune last Friday of visiting the Acadia Sea Plants, which is in Cornwallis, with their offices in Dartmouth, and branch offices all over the globe. And that company was founded right here in Nova Scotia. They have more PhDs, I think, than some of the universities, working on behalf of that company, hiring hard-working Nova Scotians in all parts of this province, building a product, diversifying their product, and exporting it, and bringing back revenue to the people of Nova Scotia for us to be able to deliver on our services that we as a province want to have. I was at A.F. Theriault & Sons that very same day. 71 years ago, that family had the foresight to recognize they wanted to get in the shipbuilding sector. And they've continued through generations to remake themselves. They now are building a product for an Alberta company. It's called a hammerhead. And it's actually a decoy that they use, and armies all across the globe are using it as target practice. I want you to think about that. A.F. Theriault & Sons have partnered with an Alberta company to build a product right here. We've always thought that we'd have to send our sons and daughters to Alberta to make a living, when in actual fact, this company has figured out, let's find out what Alberta companies want and build it right here in Nova Scotia using our own sons and daughters and export that product to bring back much needed revenue to the people of this province. The challenge that I have found, though, is that we have not always adapted. When I say we, I mean the global government sector in the province. And we have great men and women working for us in the bureaucracy, and I want to emphasize that to all of you. I've had the good fortune to travel around and meet many of them, and I wanted to say to them very clearly that when all of you use the phrase, "that damn government," you're not referring to the bureaucracy, you're referring to the elected body. Because it is often the elected body's decisions that is being carried out by members of our community who work for the province of Nova Scotia. They are actually working on behalf of the elected body and all of you. So whenever you're unhappy with a decision that is made, don't blame your neighbor who works for the government, blame your elected official and the Premier of the province for the decisions that we have made. But sure, blame me, why not? But really, what has to happen, though, is that we as a government need to catch up to the private sector. Those two companies that I referred to you earlier, A.F. Theriault & Sons, Acadia Sea Plants, the wine industry that we were speaking about at lunch, understood through research, innovation, working with private and public sector, partnering with our post-secondary institutions, those tremendous assets that we have here in Nova Scotia, that they could continue to build their businesses and move forward. Well, we need to begin to create public policy that continues not only to help those companies, but inspires the rest of Nova Scotians to do the very same thing. I believe it is our way forward. It's why in our public education system, we're embarking on a curriculum review to ensure that we're providing the next generation with the foundation, the skills, and the programming that they need to move into an ever-changing world, one that is founded on innovation and creativity. We'll embark on that curriculum review. It's the first time in 25 years that a government has seen fit to recognize whether the programs we were providing to our children met the test and the needs of our children of today. And I'm looking forward to remaking that curriculum to give every young Nova Scotian an opportunity to find their way into this world. But we are also a resource-rich province in many ways, people being the most valuable resource we have, and their commitment to our communities. But we also have natural resources. Some of you may have been reading more recently that Northern Pulp is having some challenges. And while you may have been reading that the government is committing funding to that company, that is simply wrong. Previous government committed 125 metric tons of fiber to that company, and we have agreed to live to that commitment because they had made decisions about how they were going to move their business model forward, and we kept that commitment. But the remaining of that fiber will be put into forest products that are looking towards the future, innovation, value added. And we as a province will announce over the next couple of days that we will be putting money into innovation on how we can move our forestry sector forward to create good economic jobs in Nova Scotia. And part of that ask was for the province to financially make a commitment to help transition that mill. And we've said no. If the business model they have does not work for them, it is not the responsibility of the people of the province of Nova Scotia to bail it out. We've made a commitment. We have some real challenges around that site, Boat Harbour. And as a Nova Scotian who lives in Western Nova Scotia, but as a proud Nova Scotian, we should be all embarrassed that the fact that Boat Harbour has gone through successive governments through decades. It is an environmental disaster and would never have been allowed to happen in this province if it wasn't next door to an Aboriginal community. And I've made it very clear, under our watch, it will be our priority to deal with that problem, to provide the Pictou Landing community an opportunity to live in a community that is safe, and we will take our responsibility as a province to help deal with it, but we also want Northern Pulp to be part of that solution. We have challenges in and around all kinds of sectors in this province, but the direction we are going will be focusing on innovation and transforming all of our sectors, quite frankly, to a new economy. We can no longer continue to do business the way we used to. We have a future in the agricultural sector, but it is through innovation. I live in the Annapolis Valley, and this province has been known as an apple-producing province. We bragged about it. It was one of the things we were most proud of. But what we always quietly said, no one was making any money, and we just kind of ignored the fact that there were government subsidies coming in to help keep that industry alive. But through innovation, through understanding our soils, recognizing that the Honeycrisp apple could grow here in our province, a commodity that the world was willing to pay a premium price for, we could begin to transform that sector. We will continue to work with our post-secondary institutions, with our research centers here in Nova Scotia, to find new opportunities to continue to grow all of our sectors. Interestingly enough, I spent a few days ago, I was at Millbrook First Nations, and they're farming Arctic char, land-based aquaculture. And they've created a tremendous system, and they're actually making money at doing it. I believe our role as a government, as a province, as stewards of your money, is to actually understand individual sectors, work and make sure that when we're investing, We're not investing in individual entrepreneurs or individual organizations. We're investing in science. We're investing in understanding what it is that we can do, how we can expand opportunity in this province. And then what we need to do is put that out for all investors in this province and indeed around the world to invest their money in the province of Nova Scotia instead of picking winners and losers. One thing is certain, the status quo is not an option. We can no longer continue to do things the way we used to. That's why I'm so proud of our caucus who supported the decision to change the way we deal with fiber in this province. It's toward creating more jobs, distributing them across the province and looking where the opportunities exist for us. The status quo is not acceptable in public education in the province of Nova Scotia any longer. We need a curriculum review. We need to set the bar high for our children, and they will achieve it. They will reach for it, and they will go far beyond it as long as we challenge them and provide the supports that will be required for them. I have one other piece that I'd like to talk about, and then I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. But one of the things that we need more than anything else, we as a government can set the right tone, we can change the direction of how we do economic development and how we educate our children, but we need people more than anything else. We need to grow our population in the province of Nova Scotia. We need to get beyond the fact that there are some Nova Scotians who believe that through an immigration strategy that people will come into our province and take jobs from our sons and daughters. It couldn't be further from the truth. And we need all of you to deliver that message to your friends and to members across your communities. If you look at the investments that's happening in this city and this province, will allow our province a chance to grow and prosper and take advantage of what are the natural assets and opportunities that we have here in Nova Scotia. We need your help. We need you to continue to do what you have been doing, believing in your communities, investing in your ideas, investing in taking a chance on a business idea to grow jobs in Nova Scotia. My commitment to you is that as a Premier of this province, I will try to stay out of your way and try to be helpful and try to keep a more positive I've never seen so many people want to clap to get me out of their way. But listen, I gave a speech more recently in my own riding, and I talked about being a young boy. Chris spoke of my mother, the real tragedy that happened. My mother was ended up being widowed young and was raising many of us. But you know, at that time, that community came around and supported and provided support to my mother in a way that wasn't necessarily financial. It was a way that they cared about the direction she was going and what happened to us collectively. And as you were growing up in that small community, which is no different than communities across this province, people celebrated your successes. You know, when a neighbor did well, you were happy. It wasn't that you didn't do well, it was that they did well. And I've said to our community, somewhere along the way, we've lost that part that made us so special, which was that we actually cared about each other and the destiny of our neighbors and our collective communities. If we want to move forward, we have to move away from this idea that it's Halifax gets something, Annapolis Royal loses. Or if Annapolis Royal gets something, Halifax loses. Or if Cape Breton gets something, another part loses. What we need to understand is that when any part of this province grows or moves forward, we all move forward. And we need to move from looking at it in a way that someone loses to the idea that we all win.